So tensions are heating up in the Middle East as Tehran accuses Israel of violating the ceasefire deal by striking Lebanon.
So Iran's president warning that continued attacks will bring, quote, explicit costs and strong responses and will make negotiations meaningless.
Chief foreign correspondent Trey Yingst is live in Tel Aviv with the latest for us. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. A significant statement just now from Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian saying that if Israeli actions in Lebanon continue, that it will render the negotiations that are set to take place on Saturday in Islamabad meaningless. Yesterday, we know the Israelis conducted dozens of airstrikes against Hezbollah positions inside of Lebanon, not just striking the southern Dakhla neighborhood in Beirut, but really the entirety of the country, including the Bekaa Valley and closer to the Israel-Lebanon border. The IDF says they also killed Ali Karshi, the secretary to Iran's largest proxy, Hezbollah, and that is the secretary to Hezbollah, and not the secretary general, but of course this is a top official. And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says these types of strikes will continue with more goals to complete. Take a listen.
We have more goals to complete, and we will achieve them either by agreement or by renewing the fighting. We are prepared to return to fighting at any moment necessary. Our finger is on the trigger.
With talks this weekend scheduled in Islamabad, Pakistan, the president overnight took to Truth Social to say, quote, all U.S. ships, aircraft, and military personnel with additional ammunition, weaponry, and anything else there is appropriate and necessary for the lethal prosecution and destruction of an already substantially degraded enemy will remain in place and around Iran until such time as the real agreement reached is fully complied with. Now, there is a lot of focus today on the Strait of Hormuz. Yesterday, 4 vessels were allowed to pass through, but the Iranians are still saying publicly they're in control of the strait and that it is closed right now. Vessels have to check in with the Iranian military, and other reports indicate they'd like to charge a toll for vessels to pass through this critical thoroughfare. Vice President J.D. Vance yesterday talking about new threats against Iran before the negotiations begin.
I encourage the Iranians to come to the table seriously. We've seen some signs that they're going to do that. We've seen some signs of bravado. Fundamentally, we're in a good spot. They're reopening the straits. We have a ceasefire. And frankly, if they break their end of the bargain, then they're going to see some serious consequences.
48 hours before negotiations are set to start in Islamabad, Pakistan, this is the situation. The Strait of Hormuz right now appears to be closed. Additionally, the atomic energy chief for Iran says that they will continue to enrich uranium in direct contradiction to what President Trump said yesterday. And just moments ago, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian said the negotiations will be meaningless if the Israelis continue their operation against Hezbollah. Guys?
Yeah, Trey, the president also said in that same statement, according to Reuters, we will not abandon the Lebanese people. So, I mean, the deal is over before we even start.
Look, the Iranians are known for not being good faith negotiators, and this is the challenge for the Trump administration. We heard yesterday Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary at the White House, laying out the U.S. plan to send a top-tier delegation to Islamabad, led by the vice president, J.D. Vance, with special envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, to try and get a deal done. The president, once again, is extending an olive branch to the Iranians, an off-ramp in this conflict, understanding that there are still more than 50,000 U.S. forces in the region that at a moment's notice could start firing again if ordered by the president. And once again, the Iranians do not appear to be taking this very seriously. There's a very clear agreement here, and an updated agreement, we are told by U.S. officials. The points that the Iranians were putting out over the past 2 days were described to me as propaganda. They're trying to spin the negotiators ahead of these in-person talks in Pakistan. And so what we know here is that the commitments the Iranians made are not being adhered to ahead of these conversations, and it does raise serious questions about if they are willing to make a good faith agreement. But the president, in that post on Truth Social overnight, was very clear. The U.S. military remains prepared to respond if Iran wants to play around and not create a solid deal to end this conflict.
It wasn't the whole point of this ceasefire to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Now they're saying, Iran's foreign minister is saying, okay, we'll let you pass through safely if you coordinate with Iran's armed forces and you take certain routes. But they don't have the ability to tell people to do that, because that was the whole point of this. No more firing rockets into Iran if you open up the strait. But they haven't done that, Trey.
It's a dangerous game, and they don't really understand who they're dealing with here. The president is a deal maker. He's someone who, even when we talked about the negotiations, was very clear he sees the horizon here. And again, he is giving the Iranians a chance. But if they already are going back on parts of the deal, it will be interesting what they say behind the scenes. Oftentimes, the Iranians in public will try to negotiate with the press, or they will try to put out statements that make their side look more favorable and then make concessions behind the scenes. That is very possible. That's happening right now. We have to simply wait and see what comes out of these conversations in Pakistan on Saturday. But if the Iranians are still pledging to enrich uranium, if they are unwilling to open the Strait of Hormuz, and if they are still trying to support regional proxies like Hezbollah, we are looking at a situation where the region is likely headed back into war.
Yeah. Trey, the last thing we would say, if the president had a battle plan, a war plan to take back the Strait, I assume this is what the pause could be about, getting ready for that moment, because we cannot leave this conflict with the Strait in the hands of the Iranians. If you take international waters and allow any one country to take control over it, you realize the message it sends to other countries around the world, like China.
Absolutely. And if we've learned anything from Operation Epic Fury, it's that the Trump administration is preparing and has contingency plans in place for a variety of options. So while the Iranians are talking, the Americans are preparing. And again, this speaks to the advantage that the United States has, not just at the negotiating table, but also on the battlefield. The Iranian military was decimated over the past 40 days. The United States and Israel took out the production lines that make the drones and missiles that the Iranians are using and used over the past 40 days against regional countries and U.S. forces. They have hammered the leadership of the regime, taking out dozens of officials. And again, this is part of the reason that the Iranians are trying to publicly leverage the Americans, because they're out of options. They have no leverage left at the negotiating table or on the battlefield. And that's why you're hearing these remarks from top Iranian officials. There's a connection to all of this. Hezbollah is Iran's largest proxy in the region. The president has been very clear. The vice president was very clear, and Israel's prime minister was very clear. Lebanon is not attached to this deal. Iran's president today says they are, and so that will get worked out on Saturday. But again, the United States is preparing, and the Iranians are talking.
Yeah, thanks so much, Trey. And by the way, when the Lebanese, don't act like you're helping the Lebanese officials. Hezbollah is the one that's been supported by Iran, not the Lebanese people,
Right.
who would love at this point for Hezbollah to go find something else to do.
And Hezbollah is in a neighborhood in a certain part of Lebanon. So when they're firing missiles into that neighborhood, they're attacking Hezbollah, not necessarily the innocent people in other areas.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.